Alright, so listen to this. This is a claim from the developers themselves. We want to make Crimson Tactics, the Rise of the White Banner, a worthy spiritual successor to Tactics RPG classics such as Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre. So, did they do it because this is a gigantic claim, right? Is it worth playing? Well, I'll be giving you a quick summary on how the game works, the good stuff, the bad stuff, and then if I ultimately recommend it. So, let's begin with the story. This is your typical fantasy war story. It's a little bland, especially the main character. You got kingdoms, backstabbing, civil war, tons of factions and alliances kind of all over the place. But to keep it simple, you do play as a named unique character whose kingdom has been it's been usurped by a power-hungry duke. Problems ensue, and then you ultimately leave your soldier position there for more trustworthy allies, and then your journey begins there. It has mature themes as well, primarily with violence and stuff. The gameplay, it boils down to pretty much these features. You got story/missions, the combat, and then the management. To briefly summarize story missions, it's pretty linear at the start, tutorial missions, and then it slowly opens up. Just to give you a warning, it is around 2 or so hours before you can actually do anything besides the tutorial stuff. But then you get a map with multiple stages to walk from, an overworld. You can move between smaller stages when you go to smaller sections, kind of like Tactics Ogres if you've played that one. You also get decisions in different story beats, like, oh, choose to let this person die, blah, 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 etc. Stuff like that. However, I'm not sure how much it affects the story though. Next is the combat. The goals are usually to defeat enemies, sometimes, let them escape, blah, blah, blah. You have a deploy phase where you can choose between however many characters that let you go, 4 to 8 characters. You put them on the field, you let them go. You're going to be taking turns depending on characters' weights, different classes. Usually, the usual ones are the soldiers, the mages, the archers, the defenders. You can see the turn order has a nice little bar up there. You can see how many enemies are there, who's coming up, how much HP they have left. They have a thing where you can look at everyone's condition, see exactly what they're wearing, the different skills that they have, what order they're going in. It's really nice, right? So you have HP, mana, and TP. You can move around, and then you're going to be attacking with different skills and weapons depending on what they have equipped. Basically, it is very, very, very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre, as they did mention. So if you are familiar, you've played those games, you know exactly what to expect here, the kind of combat. Next is the management portion of the game. You have a party screen here. You can change classes, shop for different equipment. You can use different sorts of permanent buffs that you find on the maps, different weapons. You can equip offhand stuff like, a crossbow. You can put on a shield depending on the character, different boots, different accessories, and craft stuff. So that's it. That's basically the gameplay, story stuff, combat, and management. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty stuff, the good and the bad. Let's start with the good, as I usually do. Okay, so in my opinion, this is actually a pretty decent tactics game. It has a lot of shared features between the pre-mentioned games, Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogres. It's way too many to list here, but here are some of my favorite things that they do right here, which is the freedom of class changing. They're doing it very, very similar to Tactics Ogres here, where you can choose any of your, your recruited characters that you can buy. You can go to the store and purchase any single one of them, different sorts of prices depending on their level and classes. However, you can switch them. You can switch them all using marks, so you get them out through the game. You can switch out characters there, and you can somewhat multi-class by using some mastered skills and bringing it over to other ones. And I like how they did the mana and recovery and the TP recovery here. You start with full HP, but then your mana and TP starts at 0. So whenever it's that person's turn, whether it be a mage, a main character, or whatever, they recover a certain amount of MP and TP. This makes it so you're not just managing, oh, I have 100 mana, I ran out, now my character is useless, or I have to use a sort of potion. No, it keeps going up, so it makes longer fights better for like squishy long range units. So I really, really like that. There's the good old flanking stuff, where at the end of your turn you can choose which direction your character is facing. You do more damage and accuracy on the side and the back. I love the prediction screen. It has really good accuracy rating, crits, and how much damage you do. It does a sort of new thing that I like, where depending on where your character actually stands, it affects their footing and ultimately their accuracy. So if you're standing on a nice like brick road, 100% accuracy, nice and regular. If you're on the grass, oh, maybe 10% less. But if you're in the water, maybe depending on your character, you're going to lose a lot of accuracy there. So it has more tactics, not just what moves you're using, but the positioning you are and the positioning that you want the NPC enemies to go on. And a new thing here, mounts. Some characters can actually ride different sort of creatures, and they have their own movement, their own sort of way they, you know, the way that they can actually change the whole game in terms of stats and attacks, right? Another good thing about the game is the graphics. Now, I've played a lot of these indie tactics games. A lot of them primarily use sprites or hand-drawn sort of models. But this one is nice, clean 3D models with nice, thick black outlines, right? It looks really good. They are animated with different attacks, and surprising in cutscenes, you know, they move around and stuff. It's high quality stuff here. Another thing that is pretty good here is the difficulty accessibility. At the beginning, you can choose between story, easy, normal, hard, or nightmare. Now, here's the thing. I don't know exactly what it does, and I hope it is simply more than just, oh, AI sponges. Okay, they're gonna take like 50% more damage to kill in hard or nightmare. That would suck. But if it actually, because it doesn't explain it in the game, but if it actually changes up how the AI works, you know, maybe they will be more smarter with how they fight you. Maybe they will heal more often, etc. Maybe they will not just rush you down, but maybe flank you. So if they can somehow change it up and explain to us exactly what it is, then this is a really good thing. They also have something here called automatic or manual fixed difficulty. I was playing on fixed hard mode, but apparently if you play on automatic, when you keep winning or losing, depending on how well you do, the difficulty will start to scale up or go down as you go. But I played on regular. And also, and then they have tactics and strategy mode. Basically, if you play tactics mode, it makes the game more streamlined and faster. And if you play strategy mode, it's going to make it more like old school Final Fantasy Tactics and Ogres. Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre. Now, the bad stuff. Now, this is a big negative here. And I'm about to say, it's too bad, but it's out now, and it is way too early for me to spend dozens and dozens of time on it. So here is what is out in early access, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what they have planned for the finished release. They said typically, if you go to the Steam page, they claim around 6 to 8 months of development. So it launched with 10 or so classes. They plan to have 20 or so classes. It launched with 75-ish abilities. Later on, 200 plus abilities. 3 or so mounts. Later on, 5 or so mounts. 15 to 25 hour story campaign. When it's done, 50-hour long campaign. 30 or so levels. Later, 75 plus levels. So basically, if you buy the game now, I don't know how it is going to be in a couple months, but if you get it right now, launch date, you're basically playing almost half a game, right? This game has very high potential. But the thing is, this is one of those games where, you know, I'm going to give you an example of the genres. If you play an early access like Vampire Survivors when it came out, you're playing a lot, you're having fun, it doesn't matter. But if you play something like this early and you play for dozens of hours, I don't know how burnt out you're gonna be, how much you've messed around and played, that you just don't feel like playing the finished version when it comes out. So this is personally for me, I don't want to play all this and get burnt out. I want to wait till it's actually out all the way before I revisit it again. Basically, what I played, I'm gonna go ahead and just say it was a demo. This is like, oh, this is a quick little prologue, a demo. Now I'm gonna be waiting for the full meal while I play that little appetizer. Another thing, if you want to play early, what that's kind of bad right now is some bugs, quality of life. Depending on what you see, when you see this review again, this could be implemented or fixed by then. So you got some graphical errors, animations not going off sometimes in cutscenes. There's no control support right now, which is a little unfortunate, but I do have to say the hotkeys with the keyboard and mouse works really good. The UI could be cleaned up a little bit. I think specifically a nitpick I have is when the camera moves after you attack an enemy. You attack an enemy, and usually you can see their HP bar, and then you see a number of how much damage you did. It'd be nice to see that every single time. But then once you hit an enemy, it just moves. It moves. And while it's moving, you can slowly see the HP bar, like, do some damage, but it's already out of your screen. It's like, that needs to be switched out a little bit. And I think I would love, absolutely love, if there were more different models and artworks, pretty much more variety for all of the sprites of the characters, because you have a lot of generic units, and then when you battle enemies, they have a lot of generic units, and then if you have like an archer on your class, on your side, and an archer on their side, they share the same model, they share the same freaking sprite work. It's a little, I just would like to see more. So that's pretty much the good and the bad stuff. But is it worth buying, and who should be picking this game up? Once again, I think this is actually a really, really good game, and I truly despise faux tactical strategy games. You know, those with no freedom in class, combat progression, customization. I think the worst ones are they kind of market it like, oh, Final Fantasy tactics, ogres, blah blah blah. But then they almost are like a puzzle where encounters are so simplistic, very linear. You know, you can honestly Google it, and maybe you can find a step-by-step tutorial. This one, and this is exactly why I love those older games, has lots of variables that always change it up. Everyone's gonna have a different playthrough. You know, you got different weather, you have the heights to worry about, the different sort of floors on the ground, the AI, the way they move, chance-based attacks, the way you customize your characters. You have lots of freedom to do things here, lots of strategies to do so. With that being said, the game is $30 on launch. Honestly, this is half a game. They really should have lowered it to around maybe $19.99, and then like $15 to $20. I think that would have been a good price to start with, if anything, just because of the quality of the game, right? It's that good. Otherwise, I would have said $10, but $15 to $20. And then when it releases, you bump it up to $30, because it's going to be really hard to get people jumping on in with the amount of content that there is. Even though it's good, like you could spend, I'm not gonna lie, you could spend dozens of hours on this, but then you're not getting the complete full experience. And I don't want to do that, because this is a game I'm going to keep on my radar, and then when it's done in 8 or so months, I want to play version 1.0 with everything intact and have a really nice experience. You guys know what I mean? So basically, you could buy early, you could support the devs, or wait for the finished product, or wait for a sale, but ultimately, this is a high recommendation despite what I think about it. And I definitely recommend it, especially if you are a tactics fan. Alright, so I'm going to end it here. If you guys like, enjoy, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to see more gameplay, I'll be uploading all of this on my Let's Play channel, link down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.